On Global TV News Prime, jubilation at House of Reps as Abdulmumin Jibrin and Sagi Koki defects to APC. Ganduje hails move. In business, House of Representatives probes NNPC oil firms over unremitted gas, host community funds. On the foreign scene, South Africa's president criticizes Trump's G20 boycott over land and genocide claims. In sport, Nigeria College and Football Federation Association makes debut at NUGA 2025. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Prime News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, Nigeria. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. It was a day of cheers and political realignment in the House of Representatives as former lawmaker and key political figures from Kano, Abdulmumin Jibrin and Sagi Koki, officially announced their defection from the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, to the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC. National Assembly correspondent Aniete Patrick will bring us that report in our subsequent bulletin. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris has dismissed claims that Nigeria violates religious freedom, describing them as false and damaging to the country's image. Speaking at the 5th National Advertising Conference held in Abuja, Idris said such claims distort the reality of Nigeria's diversity. The minister said while Nigeria faces security challenges, the problems are not religiously motivated, noting that the present administration is investigating insecurity and reorganizing its structure to combat terrorism. The federal government has announced a 60% increase in the national health budget, a move described by officials as part of President Bola Tinubu's ongoing efforts to improve health care delivery and address long-standing workforce challenges. Speaking at the 2025 Joint Annual Health Sector Review in Abuja, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said the additional funds are intended to finance vaccine procurement, epidemic preparedness, and overall health system strengthening. Pate said the administration planned to raise 150 billion naira over the next 2 years to support these priorities, also stressing that 35 states now conduct annual health reviews, and all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory have operational health plans aligned with national priorities. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says he has great respect for the Nigerian military, but their operations must remain within the confines of the law. He comments follow a recent confrontation with a naval officer over a disputed land in Gadua District, Abuja. Kabir Hassan has details.
It was a tense exchange between officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration and a naval officer, Ahmed Yerima. An incident that stirred fresh debates about land ownership and authorities in the nation's capital. Clarifying the matter, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the military has no documented ownership of the disputed land and that impunity or unlawful conduct, even by government officials, will not be tolerated.
We can never succeed if we continue to allow impunity, lawlessness, no country, no matter how hard you work, you allow impunity, you allow lawlessness to continue to prevail, that country will never go anywhere.
The minister commended former leaders and retired generals of their discipline and civility in resolving issues through dialogue rather than force. He believes that controversy may have been fueled by political opponents unhappy with the style of leadership, but reaffirmed his commitment to President Bola Tinubu's Real Hope agenda on the ongoing development of the FCT.
I respect the institutions, and I know what it takes. Even as a governor, no governor will say that they supported the military that more than me.
The minister emphasizes that his administration will continue to enforce the law in ensuring that all development in the Federal Capital Territory follow due process. Kabir Hassan reported for Global TV News.
It was a day of cheers and political realignment in the House of Representatives as former lawmaker and key political figures from Kano, Abdulmumin Jibrin and Saga Koki, officially announced their defection from the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, to the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC. National Assembly correspondent Anita Patrick reports.
The announcement came during plenary at the House of Representatives, a moment that sparked jubilation among members of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Reading the letter on the floor, a visibly elated Speaker Tajuddin Abbas described Abdulmumin Jibrin as a man of principle, one who calls a spade a spade. In his letter, Jibrin cited lingering divisions and unresolved internal crisis within the NNPP as reasons for his defection. He said the development had made it nearly impossible for him to effectively represent the people of Kiru Bebeji Federal Constituency in the House.
I wish to formally inform you and the entire Honorable House of my decision to resign my membership from the New Nigerian People's Party and to join the All Progressive Congress APC with immediate effect.
The declaration triggered chants of solidarity and applause from APC lawmakers and drew notable reactions from party stalwarts watching closely from Kano. Among those celebrating the move is former APC National Chairman and now Managing Director of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, who described Jibrin's return as a homecoming of value and loyalty.
As part of our blueprint to make Kano State a one-party state, we have continued taking House of Representative members and senators into our party.
The defection adds to the growing wave of political shifts in Kano ahead of 2027, signaling renewed momentum for the APC in the states. From the National Assembly, Anita Patrick reporting for Global TV News.
A Senate has taken a significant step towards modernizing the country's military legal framework. The Senate passed for second reading a bill aimed at repealing and reenacting the Armed Forces Act with underrated provision to align with Nigeria's constitutional and security realities. The bill, sponsored by Senator Abdulaziz Yar'Adua, seeks to establish a modern, constitutionally compliant and operationally responsive legal framework for the Armed Forces of Nigeria. Topsy Ginba has details.
Senator Yar'Adua explained during plenary that the current Armed Forces Act dates back to military decrees of the 1960s, last consolidated in 2004, and no longer meets today's demands. He emphasized the need to align military governance with democratic accountability and to modernize disciplinary procedures.
Many democracies, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, including the United States, United Kingdom, and South Africa, have modernized their military laws to ensure justice, accountability, and professionalism. Nigeria cannot afford to lag behind. This bill therefore places our military legal system in step with global best practices.
Senator Aliyu Ndume from Borno South lends his support, describing the reform as long overdue.
This is what this bill is trying to do, to update the laws, subject the armed forces to civil rule, and also improve on human rights, protection, and others, and efficiency.
Senator Tahir Mongono called the bill a necessary move to bring military authorities under democratic control, while Senator Samson Ekong of Akwa Ibom South called it a profound step to deepen the nation's defense policy framework.
Seeks to subject military authorities to the command of the commander-in-chief, that is democratically elected president.
Trouble with behind this bill as part of a wider process of reform that will deepen the contents of our military law and jurisprudence.
Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibril, who presided over the session, put the bill to a voice vote. He later referred it to the relevant committees on Defense, Army, Air Force, and Navy, directing them to report back within 4 weeks. The bill now awaits further committee review before advancing to the next legislative stage. Topsy Gemba, reporting for Global Television News.
The House of Representatives has raised two urgent national issues, one of the looming concern over WAEC's planned computer-based testing system, and another on massive revenue leakage from tax waivers and incentives. The House of Representatives has now resolved to investigate both matters, citing their potential impact on the nation's youth and economy. National Assembly correspondent Anita Patrick has the details.
Lawmakers expressed alarm over the plan by the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, to introduce computer-based testing for the 2026 examinations. They warned that the move could lead to massive failure among students, especially those from the rural areas with limited access to computers or stable electricity, potentially triggering depression and other mental health concerns. The House therefore resolved to urge WAEC to suspend the plan and adopt a gradual transition model, ensuring that schools and candidates are adequately prepared before any full rollout.
House is also aware that most of the schools in the urban areas and in the rural areas do not have functional computers, nor computer teachers, and also, as a result, they have not used computers before.
In another motion, members turned their attention to the nation's revenue crisis, revealing that Nigeria loses over 8 trillion naira annually through tax incentives, waivers, and exemptions. They said the abuse of these incentives by some companies and the mismanagement by government agencies are starving the country of funds needed for infrastructure, healthcare, and education. The House consequently resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to probe the administration of tax waivers and exemptions granted between 2015 and 2025 and recommend reforms to plug leakages and improve transparency.
The House resolves to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the administration and impact of tax waivers, exemptions, and incentives granted by the government between 2015 and 2025.
Two motions, one House, both pointing to the need for fairness and accountability from the classroom to the nation's treasury. From the National Assembly, Anita Patrick, reporting for Global TV News.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has intensified preparations for its 2025 national elective convention scheduled to hold on November 15th and 16th at the Lekon Salami Stadium at Damasinga, Ibadan, Oyo State. In a statement posted on its official X handle, the party said the convention, tagged Ibadan 2025, would mark a historic moment in its journey towards internal renewal and readiness for the 2027 general election. The statement said over 3,000 delegates from the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory are expected to attend alongside party leaders, stakeholders, and international observers, including members of the diplomatic community. You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime. When News Prime returns, Ramaphosa criticizes Trump's G20 boycott over land and genocide claims. Details coming shortly, plus business and foreign stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that break. Now let's take you to the world of business, where the Senate Committee on Public Account has written to all commercial banks to provide details for the revenue generated as stamp duty from 2016 to 2024. Senator Aliyu Wadata stated this during a news briefing in Abuja. Topsy Ginba has the details.
Senator Ali Wadada said the committee has written to all commercial banks, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, as well as Federal Inland Revenue Service, to provide information about stamp duty collected from 2016 to 2024. He said this step was taken to enable the federal government to have more funds to execute programs in the country. He said the affected banks have up to 25th of this month to provide details. He disclosed that the involvement of CBN is to explain how much has been collected from those commercial banks and how much has been remitted into the Treasury Single Account TSA.
Had a meeting and looked into the commitment of this administration as to generating and maximizing revenue so as to enable it discharge its responsibilities effectively to provide for the needs of the citizens of the country.
Topsy Gimba, reporting for Global Television News.
The House of Representatives is taking a hard look at oil and gas companies accused of shortchanging their host communities. Lawmakers say the firms have failed to remit the mandatory 3% on their annual operating expenditure as required by the Petroleum Industry Act of 2021. National Assembly correspondent Anita Patrick reports.
The resolution followed a motion raised by Hart Godwin, who said many oil and gas firms are yet to comply with the Host Communities Development Trust Fund provision, a key feature of the Petroleum Industry Act, designed to ensure that all producing communities benefit directly from exploration activities. Under Section 240 of the Act, each oil company is required to contribute 3% of its annual operating expenditure into the fund, while Section 236 mandates that such trusts be incorporated within 12 months of the Act's commencement. But Godwin told the House that several operators have either ignored these provisions or failed to remit the funds, leaving host communities in neglect and hardship.
Mandate the Committee on Host Communities to investigate the failure of regulatory agencies to act decisively.
The House has now directed its Committee on Host Communities to investigate both the oil companies and the regulatory agencies responsible for enforcing compliance and report back within 4 weeks. In a related development, lawmakers also resolved to probe the financial dealings of NNPC LNG Limited. The House Committee on Gas Resources is to examine the operations and remittances of NNPC LNG Limited, a Cayman Islands registered subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, amid allegations of unreported financial transactions and possible revenue losses to the federal government. Lawmakers expressed concern over deductions from liquefied natural gas proceeds allegedly made without due authorization or disclosure.
Without a formal notification, disclosure, or approval of the federal government, thereby raising serious concerns of financial improprieties.
Are expected to submit their findings within 4 weeks, part of what lawmakers describe as renewed efforts to enforce transparency and accountability in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. From the National Assembly, Aniete Patrick reporting for Global TV News.
Lawmakers in the House of Representatives have debated two major motions, one on abandoned federal asset worth trillions of naira, and another on the near collapse of Nigeria's once booming rice industry. The lawmakers are raising alarms over what they describe as a monumental economic waste, over 11,800 federal government buildings and landed properties abandoned across the country, valued at more than 20 trillion naira. National Assembly correspondent Aniete Patrick reports.
The motion, sponsored by Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda, pointed to a report by the Nigerian Institute of Quality Surveyors, which found that nearly 63% of federal building projects initiated since independence remain incomplete or deserted. Among the abandoned projects cited are the Federal Secretariat in Ikoyi, the Millennium Tower and National Library in Abuja, and the Kaduna Textile Building, among others.
The House is most humbly urged to set up a special ad hoc committee of the House to review the PIC report conducted in year 2000, as well as verify reports of other properties abandoned since year 2000 in order to identify the state of these properties and report infractions, determine and make recommendations for final resolution.
Lawmakers blame bureaucratic delays and lack of transparency, noting that a committee set up in 2000 to account for government properties has yet to submit its report 25 years later. After debate, the House resolved to set up a special ad hoc committee to verify the status of the properties and review the 2000 Presidential Implementation Committee reports within 6 weeks. In another motion, the House also turned its attention to the collapse of local rice farming and milling, warning that recent import waivers and smuggling are threatening food security and livelihoods. Mohammed Jajere, who sponsored the motion, said the 180-day duty waiver for imported rice has crippled demand for locally produced brands, forcing many mills to shut down. He added that inconsistent policies have discouraged farmers and reversed the gains made under previous administrations.
That frequent changes in government policies have disrupted the agricultural production value chain, making it challenging for farmers to plan for the future. Concerned that if this is not addressed appropriately, the country may be losing billions of naira due to the closure of most of these rice mills.
The House has directed its Committee on Agricultural Production and Services to investigate the matter and report back within 4 weeks. As the probe commences, Nigerians will be watching to see whether these investigations finally translate into accountability and revival of key national assets. From the National Assembly, Aniete Patrick reporting for Global TV News.
Now on the foreign scene, President Cyril Ramaphosa says the United States boycott of the G20 summit in South Africa later this month would not prevent the meeting of the world's leading economies from going ahead. Pretoria and Washington have clashed over a range of policy issues, including South Africa's summit agenda, culminating in President Donald Trump announcing that no U.S. official will attend the Johannesburg gathering. Zarau Nasir reports.
Ramaphosa told reporters in the coastal city of Cape Town that South Africa will take fundamental decisions, affirming that the United States stands to lose if it decides to boycott the summit. He noted that in many ways, the United States is also giving up the very important role that it should be playing as the biggest economy in the world.
The United States is also giving up very important role that they should be playing as the biggest economy.
Set to hold between November 22nd and 23rd, the summit marks the first time the G20 will convene on African soil. South Africa, current G20 chair, wants to use its presidency to champion global South priorities, including boosting climate resilience and tackling debt in developing countries before handing the baton to the United States next year. Zahra Unasir, reporting for Global TV News.
Now in sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria defeated their Gabon counterparts in the playoff 4-1 in the encounter that took place today. The Nigerian College and Football Federation Association is making waves in grassroots football as it flags off its participation at NOGA Games 2025 in the University of Jos. The Federation has already struck gold-clinching top honors in flag football events intentionally and not setting its sight on the upcoming secondary school championship finals in Abuja. Samuel Odi reports for Global TV.
18 state champions, male and female, are going to gear up for what promises to be an explosive flag football showdown as the Nigerian College and Football Federation Association stages its finals in Abuja. The event, scheduled to hold from the 18th to the 22nd of November 2025, will bring together the best teams from across the country. It was a moment of pride and progress for Nigerian College and Football Federation Association as its football team participated at the 27th edition of NOGA Games in Jos. Beyond the celebration, Oluwatobi Ade says this stands as a testament to the growing impact of grassroots flag football initiatives championed by the Nigerian Amateur Football Association, NAFA.
A lot of people have this misconception, is it rugby, is it volleyball, but we've successfully gone about spreading the gospel of American football, flag football, to let them know this is a different sport, not used to, something different from what they've been seeing. And over the years, since inception, we've been able to, establish a lot of initiatives and flagship programs for flag football that has really helped us to spread the word of what we've been doing. Now,
as Abuja gets set to host the final championship games of NAFA, the event promises to bring together the nation's best flag football teams for what promises to be a thrilling climax to the season. Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
And that's it on News Prime, and here's a recap of our top stories. It was a day of cheers and political realignment in the House of Representatives as former lawmaker and key political figure from Kano, Abdulmumin Jibrin and Sagi Koki, officially announced their defection from the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, to the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC. In business, the House of Representatives is taking a hard look at oil and gas companies accused of shortchanging their host communities. And on the foreign scene, President Cyril Ramaphosa says the United States boycott of the G20 summit in South Africa later this month would not prevent the meeting of the world's leading economies from going ahead. And finally, from the world of sport, the Nigerian College and Football Federation Association is making waves in grassroots flag football as it flags off its participation at NOGA Games 2025 in the